AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling present the 2025 Forbidden Door pay-per-view. More than any of the previous years, this show was heavy AEW and is an AEW pay-per-view featuring New Japan. I have a few things to say about this show. First of all, like with most AEW pay-per-views, it was a good show. Not perfect, not as good as All In, but it was a good show. And also, this show was not 8 hours. It was 4.5 hours. You could have still shaven some time from it. And it's, we're in a weird state when I say the AEW pay-per-view is only 4.5 hours. I mean, what does that tell you? Not including the 0 hour or anything like that. I didn't get to watch any of that, but I did watch the entire main show, and I want to give you my thoughts on it. They opened up with Edge and Christian, and yes, I know it's Christian and Cope, Adam Copeland, I know, but they're always going to be E and C to me. Versus the Matriarchy, which is Kip Sabian, and it was supposed to be Nick Wayne, but on Dynamite, he got hurt at some point. On Dynamite, they announced the former Luchasaurus Kill Switch would be in it. This was a decent opener. I think it's a good way to get the crowd going with like Edge and Christian's reunion, although it felt like this reunion should have probably been made a bigger deal. But I think what they're doing with this is that Edge and Christian, like Christian does not fully trust Edge. He's not really all the way ready to become that old team again. And you can kind of tell. And I like that the two characters have different layers to them, because the Nick Wayne storyline with Christian and Nick Wayne, that's not over yet. That has to be blown off at some point when Nick comes back. And then Edge and FTR, that's still the next big story for them. So they had to win here, and they did. I think it's the whole thing where they're not 100% on the same page, but they're getting there. But it wasn't a bad opener. It was fine for what it was. They did not do too much, which is something that AEW pay-per-views oftentimes get criticized for, is that the early matches do too much. Not so much here. Kyle Fletcher, who's been stealing the show on Collision every week, according to everybody that talks about it, versus Hiromu Takahashi for the TNT title. Hiromu's a great wrestler up and down the card, because and thank God Bryan Danielson did commentary for, almost the entire show. He stepped out during the main event. But Hiromu can have a really good first match on the show, middle of the show, or main event. Like, he knows how to pace himself to where his matches are always good, but they change depending on where in the card he is. And even though him and Fletcher, they had a classic wrestling match, started out kind of slow, but then started building up more and more. And I thought it was a bit predictable, because I didn't think Hiromu had a chance of winning, even though Hiromu is like one of New Japan's MVPs. I thought that it was another stepping stone for Kyle Fletcher, who's on his way to main event status. I mean, that's a guy who in the past year has really broken out. I mean, this guy is on his way. I could see this guy being a top heel, like a tippy top heel, around 2027. And he's still a young guy, so, he could end up being a pillar, which we're going to talk about later. But yeah, good match. Mercedes Moné versus Alex Windsor versus Persephone versus Bozilla for the TBS title. The match was fine for what it was. Little bit sloppy in parts, but it was fine for what it was. I also like that even though Mercedes did win and retain the title, first of all, she had a great entrance with the guys holding all different belts. She's got like 6 belts now. But I like that she kind of sat back here and let the other three women take the stage. Like, she was very selfless here. She let she gave the other three women a lot of really big spots. She gave them a lot of memorable moments, things of that nature, and she didn't monopolize the match. And I thought that was very, very cool for her to do that. Zack Sabre Jr. versus Nigel McGuinness for the IWGP World Title. It's kind of a dream match, to be honest. Whenever I saw Zack Sabre blowing up, he just was the new Nigel. And having Nigel come back to wrestling a year ago and have these matches, I think is great for him after taking 13 years off. He's the guy who had a real sad story, with his injuries in wrestling. Lots of really great scientific wrestling here. Bryan Danielson was doing commentary, a guy who knows both these guys very well, and he helped a lot. A lot of European style chain moves. We saw Nigel bust out the classics like the clothesline off the ropes, the Tower of London, just all the great shit. I wish we got more of Zack Sabre. I actually didn't even know that he beat Hiroki Goto for the IWGP. I guess I did not even see that happen. So, I mean, I'm not dialed into New Japan right now. New Japan right now has got a lot of problems. But this was a decent match. They didn't do too much, and it was predictable, but it was decent for what it was. Also, I'm glad Daniel Garcia didn't turn, but even if he did, I still wouldn't have cared because I just don't care about Daniel Garcia. They did an angle after this, though, where I guess Queen Aminata is like brawling with some other... I don't know these women. I don't know if maybe I haven't been paying attention or if it's a collision angle, but she's out there getting beaten up, and that led to Jamie Hayter coming back, who I didn't even know was gone again. And she came back and she saved Queen Aminata. I think it was Sky Blue and what's her name, bro? Julia Hart. I think it was them, right? But yeah, it was just done to kind of, I guess, bring back Jamie Hayter. I'm not really following this, to be honest, so I don't have much to say about it. Just keeping it real with you. The Hurt Syndicate versus FTR versus Brodito, which is Brody King and Bandito for the AEW World Tag Team titles. So I only saw two finishes here. I thought FTR could win, and then that way their match with Edge and Christian would be for the tag titles. But I also thought, okay, the Hurt Syndicate, they're way, way too popular right now to drop those titles. And neither thing happened. In fact, Bandito and Brody King won, and I was not expecting that at all. The finish was very botched in that there was supposed to be a pin breakup and it didn't happen at the right time. It's unfortunate because FTR are very much perfectionists. Everybody played their role in this match, though. Bobby Lashley was great as the big monster. Shelton Benjamin, the scientific wizard who's still... Shelton Benjamin is like, late 40s, but looks like he's 25 and is still a tremendous athlete. Like, incredible. So what ended up happening was Ricochet and the Gates of Agony... basically, like, the turn was botched. They attacked the Hurt Syndicate dressed in like New Japan clothing, but it was actually them, and they were brawling on the outside, and that led to the finish in the ring. I'm happy that Brody King and Bandito won, though, because it was basically like a new... It's basically the rise of a new tag team, right? And a tag team that the division really needs new blood. And I'm glad that they're in it now. So it gives Brody King something to do, and Bandito's always great. He may drop the ROH title on Friday, but, that remains to be seen. So we then had the match that I was looking forward to more than anything else on this card, except maybe the world title match. But this one probably even more. Swerve and Okada for the AEW Unified Intercontinental title. I really liked this match. And I liked it because, again, it was a main event caliber match, but they didn't do too much. And I hope we get more matches between these two. Okada and AEW is just not the same Okada from New Japan. He's not the same guy. We have to kind of move past that. Like, he's not in his prime anymore. But this match, thanks to all the stuff that Swerve also added to it, was great. I like that Swerve was basically dominating the early part of this match with big moves. But then there's a point in the match where he ends up hurting his leg. And that ends up being the psychology of the match. That's the story behind the match, is that early in the match, Swerve hurt his leg, and that prevented him from being able to hit a lot of his moves, which require either him bouncing off the ropes or using his legs to kick people, or both. So the leg is the weakness for a character like Swerve Strickland, and Okada took advantage of that. And that, I thought that was great storytelling. Like, if you're not gonna, to me, I think having psychology and telling a story like that's realistic, that could happen to any athlete, that to me is more important than just having a bunch of cool moves and near falls. You know, I felt like, you know, at the end of the match, Okada hit the Rainmaker, and for a while I thought that it was going to take a few more than one Rainmakers, because he was going to do the house call, but then Okada hit the Rainmaker and got the pin, and I was surprised that it only took one and not like two or three, because this is AEW and it's a New Japan guy, and you know, it's usually multiple finishers. But Okada wins clean, 1, 2, 3 in the middle. And then after the match, Okada trapped Swerve's knee. Like, first he grabbed the chair, and then he traps Swerve's knee in between like the steps, and then hits it repeatedly. So it looks like they're doing some kind of injury angle with Swerve where they fuck up his knee. Then Prince Nana comes down to help with a lead pipe, and then he gets attacked by a mystery assailant, a guy who we haven't seen since World's End 2023, and that is Wardlow. Now, I thought for sure that Wardlow was going to WWE. Off TV for a year and a half, doing nothing. He's back, and guess what? He's in the Don Callis family. So we have Wardlow, who started off being MJF's like slave man, breaks away from MJF, has a singles run that's pretty decent for a little while, right? For a little while, TNT title run, whatever. Then he ends up back in a group being Adam Cole's right-hand man. That doesn't last because Cole's injured, and that angle never got off the ground because both Cole and MJF were injured. They tried to finish the story and it didn't work. Wardlow vanished. And now guess what? He's back once again being the muscle of a stable. It's like Tony Khan can't figure out anything else to book Wardlow in except being the muscle in a stable. Like, that's all he knows how to do with the guy. And that's why I feel like maybe he should consider going to WWE, even though their booking has been not great this year. I feel like somebody like him would fit there better than just being a member of the Don Callis family, who had a very good night. Takeshita came back after winning the G1. Another great thing for the Don Callis family. And then, of course, Fletcher and Okada winning. So, yeah, I mean, they're building to a Swerve Wardlow match at some point down the road. Toni Storm and Athena for the AEW Women's title. Athena has been the Ring of Honor Women's Champion for like 3 years, and I've felt like she's been wasted because nobody watches Ring of Honor. And Athena's a great wrestler. Yeah, she has this long title reign, but again, nobody watches Ring of Honor. Like, I don't know a single person, and I'm in some hardcore circles, that watch Ring of Honor. Like, I don't know anyone that watches it. I watch sometimes their pay-per-views, like Supercard of Honor. You know, like, I'll watch that, but the shows every week, no. I maybe have seen 2 episodes in my entire life of Tony Khan's Ring of Honor. Obviously, I was a big ROH fan back in the day, but Tony Khan's Ring of Honor has no value to me. Well, Athena's great, right? I'm sorry. I like this match a lot. Not as good as the one with between Tony and Sasha last month, but I really enjoyed this match. But having Athena, who has not lost a match in 3 years, 2.5 years, whatever, tap out, and that's her first loss, there's something that feels wrong about that. You know? There's something that feels wrong about that. Like, we need... Like, no, like, we need... For somebody who's been champion that long, like what they did with Roman Reigns and Cody at WrestleMania 40, that needs to be how she drops the title. In a big climactic, like, giant match, and that they have to kill her in order to beat her for it. That's not what this match was. It was a solid match. Little bit of interference because Mina Shirakawa helped run off Billy Starks. But I don't know, man. This left the wrong taste in my mouth. I just don't think this was climactic for a tap out win. Like for Athena, for that character. So Toni Storm has beaten 2 undefeated women, you know, in 2 shows in a row. Who is going to beat Toni Storm for that title? I don't know. Jamie Hayter? I do not know if they even have a clue. Hangman Page and MJF. This was absolutely phenomenal. Best match of the night. Maybe they did a little too much, but this is kind of what it needed. Near falls everywhere. MJF in character, cussing nonstop. MJF being cocky, but then being focused, realizing that he had to win. There are so many things that happened in this match, man, that I can't even, like, explain or even remember. Like, they teased a lot of DQs and countouts for Hangman. There was a lot of spots with, like, chairs and the ring and the briefcase or the board, whatever, behind the referee's back. Like, there was just, I cannot begin to tell you all the things they did in this match. But I'm going to tell you this. Go out of your way to see this. If you're going to see one match on this show, if you're going to see one AEW match this year, Hangman beating Mox might be the one, even though that match had that disgusting, you know, fork thing. This match was just great. Like, this was an epic ROH finale. You know what I mean? Like an epic ring, like not ROH, I'm stupid. An epic AEW pay-per-view main event. Even though it didn't go on last, like, this is everything you expect. Lots of wackiness, of course, and smoke and mirrors, but just a tremendous match. After the match, Hangman Page put the contract on MJF's chest. So that story's not over yet because MJF is going to cash that in at some point, and then he may take it from Hangman. But tonight was not that night. Just a great match. The show should have ended right there. But then we had the main event. Bryan Danielson had to leave commentary because of everything that's happened. He can't be unbiased or something like that. I don't know. Who cares? He should have stayed behind. The main event, lights out steel cage match. And it's between the Death Riders, Claudio and Moxley, the Young Bucks, and Gabe Kidd. A lot of interesting characters in this one. Against the Golden Lovers, Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi, reunited once again. Darby Allin returning. Hiroshi Tanahashi, who, man, he looks like he's in pain. Very stiff back. Like, every time I watched him in this match, I was like, man, I'm glad he's retiring this year because he looks beat up. He looks like he's tired. You know what I mean? Naito kind of had a similar vibe. And Will Ospreay was, I guess, the team captain because this was his big night in the UK. They did this really emotional entrance for him. First of all, they played Bop for the Young Bucks, so they wanted their original music back, and they got it. So I'm still enjoying that, like, former EVP storyline. It's good. Will Ospreay, though, got this really heartwarming video package from his girlfriend. Excalibur said his partner, but come on, bro, it's girlfriend. And she was kind of giving him this, like, motivational speech, and it was great. I don't know if Ospreay saw that before the match or not, but it's really powerful stuff. So this was your typical, like, Anarchy in the Arena type of match. Like, they didn't do Blood and Guts this year, so this is kind of like the replacement for those two matches. You know what I mean? Blood and Guts, Anarchy in the Arena, that type of match. I'm desensitized to it, man. Just be keeping it real. Omega and Ibushi are both very banged up. Tanahashi's banged up. Darby Allin has a death sentence, apparently. Mox, in my opinion, has just... He's old. He's TV old to me. I don't want to see him anymore. Gabe Kidd is cool, but it's just... I'm desensitized to a lot of this. And there were a lot of times during this match where I said, why? Like, why take it this far? You know, they did a funny spot where instead of... They tried to pull out thumbtacks, but it was gummy bears because that's all they could get. Like, that was funny. And there were some really crazy Will Ospreay, like, jumping off the cage stuff. There's a spot where Darby Allin ends up getting his ear sliced open. And at one point, it looked like Mox was going to literally cut his ear off. And I turned my head. Like, it reminded me of Officer Marvin Nash from Reservoir Dogs, bro. Like, it was so gross. And I'm like, you don't have to do this. Everybody knows the business is a work. You don't have to prove you're tough. Darby took enough bumps. He took a bump through, like, 2 tables on the outside that did not look good. He took a bump into the cage. Like... Darby Allin, anytime I see Mox or Darby, I'm just like, dude, you guys they're doing too much, man. Like, Jim Cornette said that he thinks that Mox has a mental illness for this type of shit, but it's just, that's what you're gonna get. After the match, because the babyfaces won, by the way, and it was actually a cool finish. Omega and Ospreay hit like the one-winged angel with the Stormbreaker or whatever, the elbow move. That move, not the Stormbreaker, the elbow move. And then Tanahashi hit the high fly flow to finish off. I forgot who got pinned. I think it was Claudio. Anyways, like I said, I'm desensitized to this. Then what happened was Ospreay got to celebrate in the ring, you know, in front of his people. And then the Death Riders, which is Mox and Claudio, ran into the cage when all the baby faces left and started to, like, destroy him with multiple DDTs and pile drivers to the neck. Mox wrapped the chair around his head, and I'm thinking, why is none of the baby faces climbing the cage? Why are they not raising the cage? Why are they, like, literally, the ops came out and they were like, raise the cage. You can't climb the cage. They did something very similar to this at SummerSlam 94, where Owen and Jim the Anvil were beating up Brett and locked all the Hart family out of the cage. But what happened was the Hart family climbed the cage to try to get in. And then Owen and Neidhart had to, like, block the top of the cage with, like, a chair to stop them from getting in. They've done this angle before. And they did it here, and nobody even attempted to climb the cage. They had to lift the cage. Very poor execution, but clearly Ospreay's taking some time off. Like, this was meant to be like a serious show-ending angle. They even pulled a Triple H where they had the angle happen after the copyright logo. That's a Triple H classic right there. Ospreay's got to take some time off. I mean, it seems like it. Him and Swerve. And that's too bad because him and Swerve have been some of my favorite guys to watch. But Ospreay apparently does need time off. For whatever reason. Adam Cole's getting time off. A lot of the guys I like, man, they're banged up. Maybe because of matches like this, dude. Like, they got to slow down with these. They really do. And I don't know, man. Look, go out of your way to see the world title match. If you like blood and guts type shit, I guess watch the 10-man. But go out of your way to watch the world title match. And maybe even that and the Swerve Okada match were great. So, yeah, those are my thoughts. Thumbs up pay-per-view, although not way up, but up enough. And it ended early enough that I can't complain. Anyways, y'all, have a great day. Let me know what you think in the comments. Take care. See you soon.